Let's begin by looking at the very spark that sets human progress in motion. Art historian Kenneth Clark argued that the invisible engine behind every great civilization is actually just one thing, which is confidence.
Confidence? Do you mean people feeling optimistic about themselves, or something more specific to the society?
It is confidence in the society itself, meaning a deep belief in its laws and a shared trust in its future. When people have that trust, they invest their time in building lasting stone homes and planting crops. But if fear of war or collapse takes over, all that forward planning stops.
That makes sense. But where does that deep societal trust originally come from? Did ancient kings and governments just mandate it?
According to author Matt Ridley, it actually happened from the bottom up, driven almost entirely by everyday merchants. When strangers met to trade, they naturally created their own informal customs and contracts to make sure everyone benefited.
So these merchants essentially invented their own grassroots legal system just to keep trade running smoothly?
Exactly. And in medieval Europe, this was known as merchant law, where anyone who broke trust was simply ostracized from future trades. Governments only stepped in much later to protect trade routes from robbers and officially write down the rules the merchants had already proven to work.
So when you combine that grassroots merchant energy with a government providing basic protection, you get a sudden boom in progress.
That powerful combination is exactly how places like Rome and Venice grew into massive superpowers. But as history constantly reminds us, that perfect synergy between the merchants and the state rarely lasts forever. We are shifting gears now to explore how aging systems tend to slowly strangle their own success. Because a state holds a monopoly on force, its bureaucracies naturally want to create more rules, more taxes, and more oversight over time.
Does that expansion just keep going until the system breaks?
Usually, yes. Like in the late Roman Empire, when the state became so bloated that contemporary writers complained tax collectors actually outnumber taxpayers. Rome imposed price controls and restricted jobs, which paralyzed merchant networks and started a long decline.
Has this happened in more commercial societies too, or just ancient empires?
It happened in Renaissance Venice, which originally got incredibly wealthy through bottom-up financial contracts that let young, poor entrepreneurs partner with rich backers. But in 1297, the established elite essentially pulled up the ladder through legal changes known as the closure, locking down political power.
So the elites banned the exact same contracts that made the city successful just to protect their own monopolies?
Exactly. And economists call this gridlock a stakeholder state or a vetocracy. By early modern Europe, property rights had grown so complex and fragmented that aristocrats, guilds, and the church all held overlapping claims on the same land.
Meaning if you wanted to build a road or a canal, one single stakeholder could block the entire project.
Precisely. You end up with a system where everyone has the power to say no, but nobody has the authority to say yes, completely smothering innovation. Let's look at how one country finally managed to break out of this cycle of gridlock and stagnation. In the late 17th century, England was facing the same choked trade routes and fragmented land as the rest of Europe, until the glorious revolution of 1688 changed everything.
What happened in 1688 that made such a big difference for their economy?
The revolution put Parliament in charge, above the monarch, creating a unique institutional sweet spot. Parliament protected people's property from being arbitrarily seized by a king, which gave merchants the confidence to actually invest.
But wouldn't incredibly strong property rights mean that any local landowner could just block new infrastructure?
That is exactly the trap they avoided, because Parliament didn't just protect property, they also used their authority to reorganize it. If a new canal or turnpike was needed to connect a factory to a port, Parliament would step in, pay the landowners fairly, and legally override their vetoes.
Oh, so they acted as a central forum to untangle all those overlapping ancient rights that were holding things back.
Exactly, and that balance sparked the Industrial Revolution. Merchants felt safe from greedy autocrats, but the state was still capable of clearing the hurdles necessary to build a modern economy.
It sounds like there is a major lesson there for us today, especially since it feels like it takes years just to get a permit to build anything.
There really is, because many modern societies are slipping right back into that trap. We are facing a growing tangle of zoning laws and local vetoes that make building housing, transit, or clean energy incredibly slow and expensive.
So we really need to find that sweet spot again, where we have rules but don't let bureaucracy completely paralyze progress.
Precisely. We need bottom-up freedom so builders can innovate, but we also need institutions strong enough to clear away the bureaucratic rust and keep us moving forward.